Princess Zarathel stood on the bridge of her warship, looking down at the burning planet below. Her skin glowed deep red, with anger and disgust. The color moved across her body like liquid fire, showing everyone around her exactly how she felt about the humans living on Kepler 442b. The Vorthak were not like humans. They were tall and beautiful, with skin that changed colors based on their feelings. Right now, Zarathel's skin was the deepest red anyone had ever seen. She hated humans more than anything else in the universe. "Princess, the human settlements are burning," reported her second-in-command, Captain Veltar. His own skin was a satisfied orange color. "Our forces have taken most of their cities." Zarathel nodded, but did not smile. Winning against humans should have been easy. They were just animals, after all. At least, that is what she had been told her whole life. Humans were dirty creatures who destroyed everything they touched. They built ugly machines held together with sticky tape and hope. They had no honor, no beauty, no real culture. But something was wrong. The battle had been harder than expected. "How many ships did we lose?" she asked. Captain Veltar's orange skin flickered with embarrassment. "2 cruisers, Princess. The humans used old mining equipment to attack us. They turned their digging machines into weapons. ADS. 2 cruisers. ADS. Teen ADS." Zarathel's red skin grew even darker. 2 cruisers lost to mining equipment? This was impossible. The Vorthak had the best technology in the galaxy. Their weapons could destroy whole cities. Their armor could stop any attack. How could primitive human tools hurt them? "Bring me the reports," she commanded. As she read the battle data, her skin began to change from red to confused amber. The humans had fought like wild animals, but there was something else. They had used tactics that made no sense. Instead of running away when they should have, they stayed and fought. Instead of saving themselves, they protected their weak ones. One human pilot had crashed his ship into a Vorthak destroyer to save a transport full of children. Another group had used their own bodies to shield a hospital from bombing. These actions made no sense to Zarathel. Why would anyone die for others who could not fight back? "Princess," Captain Veltar said carefully, "we have taken prisoners, including their commanding officer." Zarathel's amber skin flickered with interest. "Good. Bring him to me. I want to understand these creatures." She walked to her private chamber and sat in her command chair. The room was beautiful, with crystal walls that caught the light from the stars outside. Everything was perfect and clean, the way Vorthak things should be. Nothing like the messy, broken, human settlements she had seen. Zarathel had been raised to lead the 3rd Talon Fleet, the most elite warriors in the Vorthak Empire. Her grandmother had fought humans. Her mother had fought humans. Now it was her turn to continue the family tradition. She had studied everything about them in school. Humans were violent and stupid. They fought among themselves constantly. They polluted their own planet until it was almost dead. They bred too fast and spread across the galaxy like a disease. They had no respect for anything beautiful or pure. But if humans were so stupid, why had this battle been so hard? The door to her chamber opened, and 2 guards brought in the human prisoner. Zarathel expected to see a monster. Instead, she saw something that confused her even more. The human was smaller than her, as all humans were. He was hurt and bleeding, but he stood straight and looked directly at her. His eyes were dark brown, and they did not show fear. They did not show hate either. They just looked at her with calm intelligence. "I am Princess Zarathel of the 3rd Talon Fleet," she said through the translation machine. "You are my prisoner." The human nodded once. "Commander Marcus Chen, Earth Colonial Defense Force. Serial number 774 Delta 9. His voice was steady. Zarathel's skin flickered with surprise. She had expected screaming or begging. Instead, This human gave her his name and number, like a proper soldier. "Your people fought well today," she said, testing him. "Thank you," Chen replied. "Your people fought with honor too." Zarathel's skin changed to shocked purple. No enemy had ever spoken to her about honor before. Humans were not supposed to understand honor. That was a Vorthak concept, something pure and beautiful that animals could not grasp. "You know about honor?" she asked. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I know that your warriors could have destroyed our medical stations, but they did not. I know that when one of your pilots was shot down yesterday, my soldiers saw your people risk their lives to save him. That is honor." The princess felt her skin shifting through colors she did not expect. This human had been watching their battles. He had seen Vorthak honor and understood what it meant. How was this possible? "Why did your people fight so hard?" she asked. "You knew you could not win." Chen's eyes became sad, but his voice stayed strong. "Because this is our home now. Because there are families here who depend on us. Because sometimes you have to fight, even when you cannot win." Zarathel stared at him. In all her studies, no one had ever told her that humans might fight for the same reasons that Vorthak did: protection of the weak, defense of home, duty to family. "Take him to holding cell 7, she told her guards. "Give him food and medical care." After Chen was gone, Zarathel sat alone in her chamber. Her skin was cycling through colors she had never felt before. Everything she thought she knew about humans was starting to crack like broken crystal. She looked out at the burning planet below and wondered what else she might have been wrong about. The next morning, Princess Zarathel walked into the holding area with 2 guards behind her. She had not slept well. Her dreams had been full of questions she could not answer. Questions about humans and honor, and why this Commander Chen was so different from what she expected. Chen was sitting on the simple bed in his cell, looking out the small window at the stars. When she entered, he stood up and nodded respectfully. His uniform was torn and dirty, but he still wore it with pride. "Commander Chen," she said through the translator, "I have questions for you." "I understand," he replied, "but I will not give you information that could hurt my people." Zarathel's skin flickered orange with annoyance. "I am not asking for military secrets. I want to know about your dead." Chen looked confused. "My dead?" "Yesterday, 43 humans died in the battle. What happens to them now?" Chen was quiet for a long moment. His eyes became sad again. "We will bury them with honor, if you allow it. Each one will have their name spoken aloud, so they are remembered. Cain, and if I do not allow it, then their families will never know what happened to them." Zarathel studied his face. "What do you know of Vorthak burial customs?" Chen straightened up. In broken but clear Vorthak language, he said, "The dead are placed facing the home star, so their spirits can find the way to their ancestors." The princess felt her skin turn shocked purple. No human should know their sacred language. No enemy should understand their death rituals. "How do you know this?" she demanded. Chen switched back to human language. "I studied your culture before I came here. I wanted to understand who we were fighting, and why. Most humans do not bother to learn about their enemies. Most humans are not commanding officers responsible for the lives of 8,000 people." Over the next 3 days, Zarathel found herself returning to Chen's cell again and again. She told herself it was for interrogation, but really, she was curious. This human was nothing like what she had been taught. On the second day, she asked him about human cities. "Your settlements are ugly and chaotic. Why do you build this way?" Chen smiled for the first time since his capture. "They look ugly to you because you value different things. You build for beauty and perfection. We build for life and growth." "What does that mean?" "Your cities are like crystals, perfect, but they cannot change. Our cities are like trees, messy, but they grow and adapt to whatever comes. Zarathel's skin shifted to thinking amber. You make it sound like chaos is good. Since sometimes it is. When the unexpected happens, when the perfect plan fails, chaos lets us find new solutions. On the third day, she brought him real food instead of prison rations. As they ate together, separated by the energy bars of his cell, he asked her about Vorthok poetry. I read some translations, he said. The battle song of Kethmor was beautiful. The way it described honor as both a sword and a shield. That was very wise. Zarathel nearly choked on her food. The battle song of Kethmor was ancient, something only studied by Vorthak scholars. How could a human understand its meaning? You think our poetry is beautiful? She asked. Very much. Though I think the translation missed some of the rhythm. In your language, it must sound like music. Without thinking, Zarathel began to recite the opening lines in perfect Vorthak. Her voice rose and fell with the ancient melody, filling the small cell with the sounds of her people's greatest art. When she finished, Chen was quiet for a long time. That was incredible, he said finally. Now, I understand why the translation felt empty. Your language makes it alive. There, looted. Zarathel realized that no one had ever appreciated her recitation like this before. Even other Vorthak just listened politely. But this human understood what made it special. Tell me about human poetry, she said. Chen thought for a moment. We have many kinds. Some is about love, some about war, some about hope. My daughter writes poems too, though she is only 8 years old. You have a daughter? Chen reached into his torn uniform and pulled out a small piece of paper. On it was a drawing made with colored pencils, a rainbow over a house with stick figures standing outside. Her name is Lisa. She drew this for me before I left Earth. She said the rainbow means that beautiful things come after storms. Zarathel stared at the simple drawing. Her skin was shifting through colors she had no names for. This human warrior, who had fought her people with such skill and courage, was also a father who carried his child's artwork into battle. She must miss you very much, Zarathel said softly. Yes, and I miss her. But sometimes, we have to be away from the ones we love to protect them. That sounds like something a Vorthak would say. Chen looked at her seriously. Maybe we are not so different as our governments think. On the fourth day, Zarathel found herself looking forward to their conversation. She brought him medical supplies for his healing wounds and sat outside his cell for 2 hours, talking about everything except the war. Chen told her about Earth, about cities that grew like forests, about humans who spent their lives studying the stars, about children who dreamed of exploring the galaxy in peace. He spoke of human music that could make people cry with joy, of art made from recycled metal and broken glass that somehow became beautiful. Zarathel told him about Vorthak festivals where warriors danced with weapons of light, about crystal gardens that sang in the wind, about the great libraries where the history of 1,000 worlds was preserved in living crystal. Your people sound wonderful, Chen said. I wish we had met as friends, instead of enemies. The war has gone on for 60 years, Zarathel replied. Our grandparents fought. Our parents fought. Now we fight. But does it have to continue forever? Zarathel did not answer, but her skin glowed soft blue, the color of deep thought. For the first time in her life, she was wondering if everything she had been taught about humans might be wrong. That night, she stood on her bridge, looking down at the planet below. The human cities were still burning, but now she wondered about the people inside them. Were they like Chen? Did they have families and dreams and children who drew rainbows? Her skin continued to glow blue as she tried to understand what was happening to her heart. The attack came at dawn, when most of the Vorthak soldiers were changing shifts. Commander Chen was eating breakfast in his cell when the first explosions shook the ground. The lights went out, emergency alarms started screaming, and he could hear the sound of human ships overhead. His people had come for him. Through the small window, he could see human fighters diving at the Vorthok base like angry birds. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they fought with desperate courage. Chen felt pride and sadness at the same time. Pride because they had not abandoned him. Sadness because many would die in this rescue attempt. Princess Zarathel was in the command center when the attack began. Her skin flashed bright yellow with alarm as reports came in from all directions. The humans were using the same crazy tactics they had used before. Turning farming equipment into weapons. Using cargo ships as bombs. Sacrificing themselves to save others. Princess, we need to evacuate the detention center. Captain Veltar shouted over the noise. The humans are targeting it specifically. Zarathel ran through the corridors toward the holding area. She told herself she was just doing her duty, making sure valuable prisoners were not lost. But deep inside, she knew she was worried about Chen. Another explosion rocked the building. This one was much closer. The ceiling above the detention center cracked, and chunks of crystal and metal began falling like deadly rain. Zarathel saw guards running away, abandoning their posts in panic. She reached Chen's cell just as the biggest explosion hit. The blast threw her to the ground and brought down half the ceiling. When the dust settled, she found herself trapped under a heavy beam, with toxic coolant leaking from broken pipes above her head. The green liquid dripped steadily onto the floor near her face. She knew that in a few minutes, the fumes would kill her. Her left arm was pinned, and no matter how hard she tried, she could not move the beam. Through the smoke and debris, she saw Chen's cell. The energy bars had failed when the power went out, and the explosion had bent the metal door enough for him to squeeze through. He was free. This was his chance to escape. His people were fighting and dying outside to rescue him. All he had to do was run, and he would be safe. Instead, he crawled toward her through the rubble. "Are you hurt badly?" he asked, coughing from the dust. "Go," Zarathel said weakly. "Your people are here. You can escape." Chen looked at the toxic coolant dripping from above. He looked at the beam holding her down. Then he looked at her face, and she saw his decision in his eyes. "My daughter draws rainbows because she believes the world can be beautiful after storms," he said, grabbing the beam with both hands. "How can I face her if I abandon someone who needs help?" Chen was not as strong as a Vorthok warrior. His human muscles were smaller and weaker. But he pulled at the beam with everything he had, his face turning red with effort. The metal was too heavy. It would not move. "Please," Zarathel begged. "Save yourself. I am your enemy." "No," Chen said, breathing hard. "You are someone who needs help." He looked around the destroyed room and saw a piece of broken metal pipe. Using it as a lever, he wedged it under the beam and pushed with his whole body. Slowly, incredibly, the beam began to lift. "Can you move?" he gasped. Zarathel pulled her arm free just as Chen's makeshift lever snapped. The beam crashed back down, missing her by inches. But now she could move. Together, they crawled through the wreckage toward the exit. The toxic fumes were getting stronger. Chen's hands were bleeding from the sharp crystal debris, but he helped her stand when they reached clearer ground. "You are hurt," Zarathel said, looking at his torn and bloody hands. "I will live," he replied, pulling off pieces of his uniform to make bandages. But Zarathel was hurt too. The green coolant had splashed on her arm, eating through her crystalline skin and into the glowing circulatory system underneath. If it was not treated quickly, she would bleed to death. Chen saw the wound and did not hesitate. He tore more cloth from his uniform and wrapped it carefully around her arm. His movements were gentle and precise, and the bleeding stopped. They found shelter in the ruins of what had been a storage room. Outside, the battle was ending. The human rescue ships were pulling back, having taken too many losses to continue the attack. "They will come back for you," Zarathel said. "Maybe, or maybe they think I am dead." Chen shared his emergency food bar with her, breaking it in half, even though he was probably hungrier than she was. "Why did you save me?" she asked as they waited in the darkness. Chen was quiet for a long time. "Because you listened to me. Because you brought me real food and asked about my daughter. Because you recited poetry, like it mattered to you that I understood it." Zarathel felt her skin glowing soft blue, the color of deep thought. But there were other colors mixed in, warm gold that she had never felt before, and silver that meant something she could not name. "I have been wrong about humans," she said. "And I have been wrong about Vorthak," Chen replied. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching dust particles dance in the light from the broken ceiling. Two enemies who had become something else entirely. When the rescue teams finally found them 3 hours later, they were still sitting side by side. The Vorthak soldiers were surprised to see their princess unharmed. The human medic who came with the search team was amazed to find Chen alive and relatively well. "Sir, we thought you were dead," the medic said. The whole detention center came down. "Princess Zarathel helped me find shelter," Chen said simply. The medic looked confused. Enemy prisoners did not usually help each other survive. As they were separated again, Chen to human custody, Zarathel to Vorthak medical care, they looked at each other one last time. Her skin was glowing colors that had no names in any language. His eyes were warm and grateful, and sad all at once. Both of them knew that something important had changed between them. Something that would be hard to explain to their own people. Something that might change everything. After the rescue attempt, everything changed for both of them. Princess Zarathel faced angry questions from her own command staff. Why had she gone to check on the prisoners, personally? Why had she been found with the human commander? Some of the older officers looked at her with suspicion, their skin showing colors of doubt and distrust. "The human saved your life?" Captain Veltar asked for the third time. "Yes," Zarathel replied firmly. "He could have escaped, but he chose to help me instead. This makes no sense. Humans are selfish animals. They do not sacrifice for others, especially not for enemies." But Zarathel knew what she had seen. She had felt Chen's hands carefully bandaging her wounds. She had watched him share his food when he had every reason to let her die. The books and teachers had been wrong about humans. Very wrong. She began studying human military records in secret, using her access as a fleet princess to read classified reports. What she found amazed her. Story after story of human soldiers throwing themselves in front of enemy fire to save their comrades. Tales of medics running into battle to help wounded enemies. Accounts of human pilots ramming their ships into alien destroyers to protect civilian transports. These were not the actions of selfish animals. These were the actions of people with honor. Commander Chen was having his own problems. His superior officers wanted to use his knowledge of Princess Zarathel and Vorthak's psychology to plan better attacks. They asked detailed questions about Vorthak weaknesses, about the princess's personality, about anything that could help them win the war. But Chen found himself unable to answer. Every time he tried to speak about Zarathel as an enemy, he remembered her voice reciting ancient poetry. He remembered how her skin had glowed with genuine interest when he talked about his daughter. He remembered the careful way she had asked about human burial customs, wanting to show respect even for her enemies dead. "Commander, this information could save thousands of human lives," his colonel said during one debriefing. "I understand, sir," Chen replied. "But I cannot betray someone who showed me honor and respect." "She is the enemy, Commander." "Yes, sir. But she is also a person." The colonel did not understand. But Chen did not care. He had seen something in Zarathel that changed his entire view of the Vorthak people. If she could be honorable and kind, maybe others could be too. Maybe this war did not have to continue forever. 3 weeks later, both sides arranged a prisoner exchange under a flag of truce. Chen volunteered to be part of the negotiation team, and Zarathel insisted on representing the Vorthak personally. They met in the ruins of an ancient city on Kepler 442b, a place that had been empty for thousands of years. The moment they saw each other, the connection was immediate and powerful. Zarathel's skin began cycling through colors: warm gold, silver trust, deep purple admiration. Chen's eyes lit up with genuine happiness for the first time since the rescue attempt. "Your hands have healed," she said, looking at the scars left by the crystal debris. "Your arm is better too," he replied, seeing where the toxic coolant had burned her skin. They conducted the official prisoner exchange quickly and professionally. But when the other officers from both sides returned to their ships, Chen and Zarathel remained behind. "I have been thinking about what you said," Zarathel told him as they walked through the ancient ruins. "About humans and chaos and adaptation. And I have been thinking about what you taught me," Chen replied. "About honor and beauty and the value of perfection." They spent hours exploring the dead city together. The buildings were made of some unknown material that had survived millennia without decay. Strange symbols covered the walls, telling the story of a people who had lived and loved and died long before either humans or Vorthak had reached the stars. "Who do you think they were?" Zarathel asked, running her fingers over the carved symbols. "I do not know," Chen said. "But I think they were like us, trying to build something good, trying to protect their families, trying to find meaning in a difficult universe." "Do you think they had wars too?" Chen was quiet for a long time. "Probably. And maybe they destroyed themselves because of it." They sat together on the steps of what had once been a great temple. The setting sun painted the sky in brilliant colors that reminded Chen of his daughter's rainbow drawing. "I do not want that to happen to our peoples," Zarathel said softly. "Neither do I." Over the following weeks, they met secretly several more times in the ruins. Chen taught Zarathel about human creativity and resilience, showing her pictures from Earth of art made from recycled materials, of cities rebuilt after disasters, of children playing in the ruins of war. Zarathel shared Vorthak culture with him. Their ceremonies that turned combat into dance. Their music that could make crystals sing. Their philosophy that found beauty in perfect precision. "Your people and mine are like two different kinds of strength," Chen said during one meeting. "Vorthak's strength is like a mountain, solid, enduring, beautiful in its permanence. Human strength is like water, flowing around obstacles, changing shape, finding new paths when the old ones are blocked." Zarathel's skin glowed thoughtful blue. "Mountains and water can exist together. Water makes valleys and mountains, but it also makes them more beautiful. RT. Menderty." "Yes," Chen agreed. "They make each other better." As their friendship deepened, both of them began to realize it was becoming something more. The way Zarathel's skin glowed warm gold whenever she saw him. The way Chen's eyes followed her every movement. The comfortable silences they shared. Looking at the alien stars together. But they also knew how impossible it was. The war continued around them. Their peoples had been enemies for 3 generations. Chen was human, and Zarathel was not only Vorthak, but royalty. "What are we doing?" Zarathel asked one evening as they watched the sunset from the temple steps. "I do not know," Chen admitted, "but I know that I have never felt this way about anyone before." "Not even your daughter's mother?" Chen shook his head sadly. "Lisa's mother died when she was born. I loved her, but it was different, simpler. This is..." He struggled to find words. "This is like discovering a new kind of light." Zarathel's skin cycled through every color she had ever felt, settling finally on something new. A warm purple gold that had no name in Vorthak language. "I think I love you," she said quietly. "I think I love you too," Chen replied. They held hands, his warm and scarred, hers smooth and glowing, and watched the stars come out above the dead city. Neither of them knew what would happen next, but for this moment, It did not matter. For this moment, there was no war. There were just two people, from different worlds, who had found something beautiful together. The secret could not last forever. A Vorthak intelligence officer noticed that Princess Zarathel was making too many trips to the neutral zone. A human spy satellite caught images of her meeting with Commander Chen in the ruins. Within days, both governments knew about their relationship. The reaction was swift and angry. Vorthak hardliners called Zarathel a traitor who had been corrupted by human influence. Human military leaders claimed that Chen had been brainwashed by alien propaganda. Both sides wanted to use the scandal to make the other look evil. Captain Veltar came to Zarathel's chambers with arrest orders from the Imperial Council. His skin was dark with shame and anger. "Princess, you have brought dishonor to your family name," he said. "You will be stripped of your rank and sent to a prison colony." "For what crime?" Zarathel asked, her own skin flashing defiant red. "For consorting with the enemy, for betraying state secrets, for forgetting your duty to the Vorthak people. I have forgotten nothing. I have learned something that could save both our peoples." Meanwhile, on the human command ship, Chen faced his own tribunal. Colonel Morrison, his old friend and commanding officer, looked at him with disappointment. 20 years of service, Marcus," the colonel said sadly. "A decorated war hero. And you throw it all away for an alien." "I did not throw anything away," Chen replied calmly. "I found something worth more than war. She is not even human, for God's sake." "No. She is not. She is better than human in some ways. More honorable than most humans I know. More willing to see past old prejudices and find new solutions. You will face court-martial for treason." Chen nodded. He had expected this. But he was not sorry for what he had done. That night, both Chen and Zarathel sat in their separate cells, thinking about the same thing. They had found love, but their love had no place in a universe at war, unless they did something drastic to change that universe. The next morning, they both made the same decision independently. Using their remaining military access codes, they sent a joint message to every ship in both fleets. The transmission went out simultaneously in both languages, with full video of both speakers. Zarathel spoke first, her skin cycling through every emotion as she addressed her people in flawless human English. "My fellow Vorthak, you have been told that humans are animals without honor. I have lived among them, and I tell you this is false. I have seen human warriors sacrifice themselves for strangers. I have seen human fathers carry pictures of their children into battle. I have seen human artists create beauty from the broken pieces of war." Then she switched to ceremonial Vorthak tongue, her voice rising and falling like ancient music. "We call ourselves the people of honor, but what honor is there in refusing to see the truth? What honor is there in hating those we have never tried to understand? I have found honor among humans, and I am not ashamed of it." Chen spoke next, addressing the human fleet with quiet strength. "For 60 years, we have fought the Vorthak because we believed they were cold, heartless conquerors. But I have learned their poetry, heard their music, seen their ceremonies. They value the same things we do: protection of family, defense of home, sacrifice for the greater good. They just express these values differently." He pulled out his daughter's drawing, holding it up to the camera. "My daughter draws rainbows because she believes beautiful things come after storms. Princess Zarathel showed me that our peoples could be like the colors in a rainbow. Different, but part of something beautiful when they come together." The reaction to their broadcast was immediate and chaotic. Some ships on both sides powered down their weapons in confusion. Others prepared to attack with renewed fury. A few captains from each fleet sent private messages asking for more information. Most importantly, ordinary soldiers and crew members began talking. On human ships, people asked their officers why they were really fighting. On Vorthak vessels, Warriors wondered if there might be honor in peace as well as war. The governments of both sides were furious. The Vorthok Imperial Council formally exiled Princess Zarathel, declaring her dead to her people. The human Colonial Defense Force court-martialed Commander Chen in absentia and sentenced him to life in prison. But not everyone agreed with the official response. A group of moderate Vorthak nobles petitioned for Zarathel's return. Several human colonies declared their intention to negotiate separate peace treaties. Most surprisingly, some ships from both fleets requested permission to withdraw from combat zones. Chen and Zarathel, meanwhile, escaped their imprisonment with help from sympathetic guards on both sides. They fled to a neutral world at the edge of known space, where they established a small colony for anyone who wanted to live in peace. The settlement grew slowly at first. A few dozen humans who were tired of fighting. A handful of Vorthok, who had been impressed by Chen's honor and Zarathel's courage. Refugees from other species who had been caught in the middle of the human-Vorthok war. As the months passed, more people came. Human scientists who wanted to study Vorthak crystal-growing techniques. Vorthak artists who were fascinated by human music and literature. Families from both sides who just wanted their children to grow up without fear. The colony became famous throughout the galaxy as the place where former enemies worked together. They built houses that combined human practicality with Vorthak beauty. They created art that mixed both cultures. They raised children who spoke both languages and saw no reason why different peoples could not be friends. Chen and Zarathel were married in a ceremony that honored both human and Vorthok traditions. She wore crystal jewelry that caught the light like stars. He carried a bouquet of flowers from Earth, grown in Vorthak soil. Their wedding was attended by people of 6 different species, all celebrating the power of love to bridge any divide. 3 years later, Chen received a message that made him cry with happiness. It was from his daughter Lisa, now 11 years old and living safely on Earth. "Daddy," the message said, "I saw your broadcast on the news. I drew you a new picture. It shows you and Princess Zarathel under a rainbow that has more colors than any rainbow on Earth. Mom, my adoptive mother, says that you helped me understand that love comes in many forms. Thank you for showing me that the universe is bigger and more wonderful than I ever imagined. I love you. And I love my new Vorthak stepmother too." Attached to the message was the drawing. 2 figures standing together under a rainbow that seemed to contain every color in the spectrum, and several that had no names. Zarathel looked at the picture for a long time, her skin glowing that new color that still had no name in any language. "Your daughter is very wise," she said finally. "She learned it from you," Chen replied. "You taught me that hope can have any color we choose to give it." They hung the drawing in their home, where it served as a reminder that beautiful things truly can come after the worst storms. Outside their window, children who had never known war played games that mixed human creativity with Vorthak precision, creating something entirely new and wonderful. The war between humans and Vorthak did not end overnight, but it began to change. Every time someone saw the colony, every time they heard the story of the princess and the commander, the idea of peace became a little more real. And in the end, that was all any rainbow needed to grow. Someone willing to believe that after the storm, the light would shine again.